morning. All right, first day of pads, so we're excited. The guys are ready to roll. This is where the real evaluation takes place. So it's kind of been building this, getting their bodies ready for this. And now we go. So this is where you find out, who's who. This is how the game is played, and it's played in pads, and so we're excited. Staff's excited. Players are excited. Ready to roll. Questions?
You said you'd want to give that initial offensive line look about 10 days to kind of evaluate it. We saw the flipping of Tate and Graham yesterday. What went into that decision? Is that something you're going to kind of stick with, or is it going to be more of a day-to-day flip-flop?
Well, I guess in training camp it's like dog years, right? Yeah. So 3 days ends up really 1 day is like 3 days, I guess. No, just, when you get the day off, you have the ability to kind of sit back, look at it all, think about it, and then it's like, why don't let's just go ahead and throw Graham back in there at center and get Tate some of these guard reps. We're still going to work him at center, but let's go ahead and do this and see what this looks like for a little bit. We go into pads. And so, like I say, we're just, we're seeing what we can find. What's the best combination? Who's going to play best where? And so Tate will get some center reps. You can go back inside on some stuff.
Christian Mahogany's been pretty locked into that left spot. Mm-hmm. Untrained eye looks like performing pretty well. What are your impressions of how Christian's fitting in up there?
He's promising. I go back to, this is year 2 for him. He really didn't get a camp last year. He was coming off of the illness that he had, and so had to make up a lot of ground, and he did, to his credit. But really from spring and then even now going into this will suit him well now. There's been it's like anybody else. He needs to clean up a few things, 4 days. But the physicality is going to be there. That's what we know about Mahogany. It'll show up today, So, I like where he's at. He's a young player that's continuing to ascend, and this whole camp's going to be great for him. But yeah, he's doing a good job.
Obviously, it's a fine line, but just how aggressive guys have been, man. How have you liked it? I know you tinkered it down a couple of days, but what have you thought about just how aggressive they've been, even without pass entering camp this year? I know Kirby was saying, you can tinker it down, but he'd rather it be up. But what's your thoughts about it?
Yeah, well, I think that's accurate, man. You'd rather pull back than you would have to constantly prod and try to push. And we need more, and it's a heck of a lot easier to do that. So, man, I love the way our team practices, the intensity, the competition, locking in when things get hard. But, we're not here to fight. And because ultimately you waste so much time. We're under the clock, and, you spend, if you're going to spend 10, 15 minutes trying to break fights up, you get nothing done. It's just a waste of time. That's all. So things are going to happen. We got competitive guys, but I think the pads will clean a lot of that up too. Good. He'll be out there today.
Part of a new class of rookies. How have they been meshing with the culture so far?
It's early. Nothing. There's nothing. Has got my antenna up or my alarm on with any of those guys. We draft them for a reason. But they're only a few days in. So, maybe asking about a week and a half, and we'll see where that is. We'll have a lot better feeling of where they are, but they're all doing a good job right now.
Barnes, any update there?
Yeah, he'd be out there. Just a finger.
Okay, Alex, a couple days ago, and obviously he's frustrated with his current situation. Just kind of curious how important you still view him to the team.
Yeah, so look, you guys know how I feel about Alex, how we feel about Alex. He's one of our dudes, man. We've leaned on him. He's a productive player. We're good. Still talking. There's no animosity here. There's nothing like that. So I'm not going to go into anything else, outside of that. But just we're going to be good. We're going to be good. And yes, we're going to need him.
Okay. defensive end wise, kind of sounds like you had some interest in adding a pass rusher at some point. Is there anything in there? What are you guys looking to add somebody else?
Just worried about evaluating the guys we got here right now. We got a good crop of guys in here, young players. We're about to go see what we can pull out of them, see what we can develop, see what comes from it, and we'll take it from there. As you know, the evaluation process is never done. I mean, there's so many things out there. You got the other 32 teams; they've got 90 on their roster, and so not only do we evaluate ours. I mean, Brad has got. He's looking at all these other rosters, and you're predicting, what about this guy? Could something happen here? How does he match up with what we have here? And so you're always looking to, man, how do we bring in more competition? But as far as where we're at right now, we're good. Let's just go compete.
Year five here in Detroit. Seeing some of these guys in your core grow from the single young guys drafted out of college, coming here now, and some of them getting married, bringing their families now out to camp and having kids come around. What's that experience like as a head coach and the guy that brought guys here?
It's just flown. It's crazy. It really is. It's awesome. It's a good feeling to see that, to watch these guys just grow and mature. And now here they go. They're the young families, and they're just starting their life. Really. I mean, they're just starting their life. And to know where they've come from, and then you realize how old you are, and it happens fast. It really does. But I'm happy for all those guys. I love our dudes, man.
Dan Hallett had the interception in practice yesterday.
Who's that?
Hallett.
Uh-huh.
Haven't seen him play that outside role before. He's been playing some slot. Obviously, he was in the safety mix there with Coach O'Neill said earlier this spring. So how do you view him? What is with maybe trying him in some different spots?
Well, one of the reasons we like Hallett is because he can play multiple roles. He's a little bit in that niche of Pat O'Connor, who can do so many different jobs. Hallett, can play the nickel. We can put him outside, play some corner. He's playing safety, certainly moving him around on special teams. So there's just a lot of jobs he can do. And there's always going to be value in that.
Terry, it seemed like he's been one of the players who's kind of popped in the first couple of days. Just how impressed have you been with the way that he's returned to campus here?
Well, he's where I would expect him to be going into year 2 after 4 days. You expected another level of confidence, of maturity, and ownership, really, accountability. And that's what you feel right now at this point, which is exactly what we wanted to feel. So, like where he's at going into pads.
Dan, I meant to ask you this earlier when the Michigan Panthers were presumably still going to be here, but would you be open to like the potential of the NFL adopting the UFL as a farm system where you could send players down and bring them up, and could they kind of work side by side all year? Is that something that you think would work?
Well, look, certainly I don't make those decisions, right? Nobody cares what I think about that. I think it would be great. I think, I go back to NFL Europe was awesome. Back in the day, because that was a chance to really develop guys. And, but I still feel like there's a part of it that really is that. I mean, we've gotten a couple players out of there now, and I know other teams have. And so, because you get to see them, man, they're playing in the spring, so they're in shape. They're just coming off of running around, being football ready. And so that's enticing us too. It's like, man, if you need a guy, at least you've got evidence right there. Versus somebody that's been home for 3 months. Yeah, they can say they're working out, but you don't know. It's not football working out like these guys are. So it's still a little bit of that way. You do feel like you're kind of, you see some of these guys develop, and maybe you got a chance to pluck them, bring them in.
Can you speak to Jack Campbell's maturation, especially in the past year, specifically on the mental side of the game?
Look, he was. When he came in, he was pretty good. Man, he was one of these guys that was a little bit ahead of everything mentally. And now to see where his growth is, it's impressive. He's done an outstanding job. He's got a good feel of the game. He understands the game. He knows what we're trying to do defensively. He did with AG, and even more so now with Shep. And so with that, we're going to give him a lot more. You know, he and Alex both. You know, a lot more flexibility to get us into the play because he also studies, man. He studies the opponent. He's studying our offense, and he's trying to get any little key that he can, and that just makes us better. So he's look. It's one of the reasons we drafted him is for that. You know, some of these teams that have this. You know, some of these Mike linebackers you think of that, man, they're run and hit and smart as a whip, and you know, that's why we like Jack.
Is that one of the more enjoyable parts of practice, I guess, is seeing the chess match between him and Jared? Because Jared talked about that yesterday. It was just kind of them going.
It is fun. You know, it is fun to watch. You know, you watch both sides go back and forth, and then if something happens day one, then whether it didn't happen at the end of practice, you know, you figured it out and were able to answer back, it's going to happen in the afternoon practice or the next day's practice where somebody's going to adjust. Defense got you, offense has got to adjust. And so it is good. And I've said this before, that's how you get better. You just continue to raise the floor. Everybody gets better and better and better. And then pretty soon when you do enough of it, your weaknesses begin to go away on both sides of the ball.